Before the ocean decides what it keeps and what it takes, make sure you're still here. Subscribe to Emo Saga for stories where silence watches back. Neighbors know too much, and love grows in places that never sleep. The house is quieter than it should be. Not peaceful. Not calm. Empty in a way that presses against my ears. Like the air itself is waiting for a sound I haven't made yet. I notice it the moment I close the door behind me. The coastal wind rattles the windows softly. Salt air slipping in through cracks I'll fix later. The house smells like dust and old paint and something faintly metallic. Like seawater dried into the walls. I set my back down and listen. Nothing. No pipes. No ticking clock. No distant hum of electricity. Just the ocean beyond the cliffs, low, constant, patient. The realtor called it isolated but charming. I called it affordable. The house had been empty for 3 years, she said. Owner deceased. No family nearby. No one interested in a place this far from town. Perfect, I thought. I wanted quiet. I didn't expect it to feel like this. The neighboring house sits 100 yards away, perched closer to the cliff's edge. Narrow. Dark. Windows facing the water like unblinking eyes. I noticed it earlier while unloading the car. Lights were on. All of them. At noon. I told myself it meant nothing. That first night I don't sleep. The waves crash below with steady force. A rhythm that should lull me but doesn't. Every time I close my eyes I feel observed. Not from inside the house. From outside. I sit up at 2:43 a.m. and finally look. The neighboring house is still lit. Every window. I meet him the next morning. I'm carrying boxes up the front steps when I feel someone watching. That sensation again. Awareness without sound. He's standing at the edge of his property. Tall. Broad-shouldered. Dressed simply in dark clothes despite the early hour. His hair is light, wind-tossed, his face sharp in a quiet, restrained way. He doesn't wave. Doesn't smile. He just looks at me. You moved in, he says. His voice carries easily across the distance. Yes, I reply cautiously. Yesterday. A pause. You'll need thicker curtains, he adds. For the wind. For the night. I should ask his name. I don't. Instead, I straighten the box in my arms. Do you live here year-round? Yes. Alone. Another pause. Longer this time. Yes. Something about that answer feels deliberate. I'm your neighbor, I add, feeling strangely compelled to explain myself. I didn't realize anyone lived so close. I know, he says. How? He meets my gaze steadily. I watch the road. He leaves before I can respond. Just turns and walks back toward his house, long strides eating the distance. I stand there longer than necessary, heart beating too fast for such a brief interaction. The days settle into a routine. Unpacking. Cleaning. Fixing small things that make the house feel less borrowed. And always him. Sometimes outside. Sometimes near the cliff. Sometimes just a silhouette behind glass when I glance over. He never waves. Never approaches. But he's always there. The third night the power goes out. No warning. Noise totem. Just darkness swallowing the house whole. I stand in the kitchen, frozen. Listening to the ocean roar louder without the hum of electricity to soften it. Then I see a flashlight beam through the window. A knock follows moments later. I open the door to find him standing there, light angled down, expression calm. You're out, he says. Yes. I thought so. You noticed. He nods once. Your porch light went dark. He doesn't come inside. He stands at the threshold, respectful, unmoving. I have a generator, he says. You can wait it out here. I don't know you, I reply. No, he agrees. But I know the coast. And it doesn't forgive panic. I hesitate, then step aside. His house smells like coffee and salt and something faintly woodsy. Warm. Lived in. Not silent. You don't sleep, I blurt suddenly. He glances at me. No. Ever. Not anymore. He pours me coffee without asking how I take it. It's exactly right. We sit at opposite ends of the table. You watch my house, I say. Yes. Why? Because you're alone, he answers simply. That doesn't explain it. It does to me. I learn things in pieces. He's lived here for years. Longer than the last owner of my house. He works remotely, keeps to himself, walks the cliffs at night. I like the hours no one else wants, he says. Why? They're honest. After that night, something shifts. He doesn't come over again, but I feel him more. When I wake before dawn, his lights are still on. When I go to bed, they haven't changed. I test it once, turning my bedroom light off and on. Across the way, his dim slightly, like a response. You're doing it again, I say the next time we speak. When? Watching. Yes. Do you know how unsettling that is? He studies my face. You know where I am, he says. You know I won't come closer unless you ask. That's not the point. It is to me. One evening, fog rolls in thick and sudden. The world shrinks to 10 feet of visibility. The ocean disappears into nothingness. I lose my footing near the cliff path and stumble. Strong hands catch me before I fall. He doesn't let go right away. You should be more careful, he says quietly. You followed me. I always do. That's not normal. No, he agrees. But it's consistent. I start sleeping better after that. Not deeply, but enough. Because even when the house is silent, I'm not alone. The night I finally ask him why he never sleeps, we're standing outside, wind pulling at our clothes. I used to, he says. Before. Before what? He hesitates. Before I lost someone to the sea. The words hang heavy. I listen now, he adds. So I don't miss it again. That's when I understand. He's not watching me. He's guarding the coastline, and I'm just within it. Still, the attention changes, becomes sharper, more personal. He notices when my routines shift, when I leave earlier, when I come home late. You're tired, he says one night. I had a long day. You didn't eat. I stiffen. You don't get to. I know, he interrupts gently. I'm adjusting. The kiss happens without ceremony. No build-up. No declaration. Just a moment where I step closer, and he doesn't step back. His hand rests at my waist, grounding, restrained. This crosses a line, I whisper. Yes. You won't stop. No. Then be careful. I always am, he says and kisses me anyway. After that, the silence changes. Feels chosen. Cheered. He still doesn't sleep. But now sometimes he sits beside me while I do. Not touching. Just watching the ocean through the window. Why me? I ask one morning. You moved into a house that listens, he says. Most people don't notice. And you. I've been listening a long time. The storm comes without warning. Waves batter the cliffs. Wind screams through the night. When a section of railing gives way, he's already there, pulling me back from the edge. You're shaking, he murmurs. I thought I lost you, I admit. He cups my face, forehead resting against mine. You won't, he says. Not if I can help it. I realize then. He never slept because someone needed to stay awake. And now he doesn't have to do it alone. After the storm, the coastline looks rearranged. Not damaged exactly, just altered. Rocks shifted. Seaweed dragged higher onto the path. The ocean quieter in a way that feels temporary, like a held breath. He walks the perimeter at dawn. I watch from my window, wrapped in a blanket, tracking his movements without meaning to. He checks the railing, the cliff edge, the narrow trail that disappears into fog. You don't have to do that, I say later when he finally comes inside. Yes, he replies. Idil. Even now. Especially now. Something about that night changes the way the house feels to me. The silence no longer presses. It stretches. I start leaving windows open during the day, letting the ocean sound travel through the rooms instead of stopping at the glass. At night, I don't turn on every light anymore. Across the way, his house adjusts with me. When mine is dark, his dims. When I wake early, one light is already on. I stop pretending it's coincidence. We don't talk about what we are, but we move like something established. He fixes a loose hinge on my back door without asking, replaces a cracked step before I notice it's dangerous, leaves fresh bread wrapped in paper on my counter when the road into town floods. You didn't knock, I say once. You were asleep. You knew. Yes. That answer doesn't scare me anymore. One afternoon I follow him. He notices immediately. Doesn't turn around. Doesn't slow. Just says, stay 5 steps back. The ground gives way closer than it looks. The path hugs the cliff, narrow and uneven. The sea far below looks calm from this height, deceptively gentle. This is where it happened, he says eventually. He stops at a point where the trail widens just enough to stand. She slipped, he continues. Or the wind took her. Or the stone crumbled. The coast doesn't explain itself. I don't ask who she was. I already know. She didn't scream, he adds quietly. That's what stays with me. I step closer. For steps now. After that, his watching sharpens again. Not tighter. More focused. You don't like the fog, he observes one night. No. You don't like when I'm out of sight. That's not true. He tilts his head. You count the minutes. I exhale slowly. You do the same. Yes, he says. But I don't deny it. I dream of water more often. Not drowning. Floating. Held just below the surface by unseen hands. Kept from sinking but never lifted out. When I wake, he's sitting in the chair by my window. You came over, I say. You called out. I don't remember. You didn't use words, he replies. I don't ask how he heard me over the waves. The kiss deepens over time. Still restrained. Still controlled. But less cautious. His hands learn me in pauses. At my lower back while I make coffee. At my wrist when he guides me away from the cliff edge. He never rushes. You're always holding back, I murmur once. Yes. Why? Because if I don't, he says, voice low, I won't know how to stop. That honesty sends a quiet thrill through me. The town starts to notice. A woman at the market glances between us. A man near the pier watches him with something like recognition. He's been here a long time, someone says casually. I nod like I knew that already. He doesn't leave much, they add. But he always comes back. One night, the ocean grows restless again. Not storming, calling. The sound slips through the walls, insistent. He's on the porch when I step outside, jacket pulled tight. Gaze locked on the horizon. It's pulling, he says. On what? On me. My chest tightens. You're not going down there. No. You promise. He turns to me fully then. I won't go alone, he says. That's not reassuring. It should be. I realize then. He's been anchoring himself to routines, to watching, to vigilance. Now he's anchoring himself to me. And I don't know which is more dangerous. The next morning I find something on my kitchen table. A notebook. Not new. Worn at the edges. Pages filled with dates, tides, notes written in tight, controlled handwriting. Records. You kept logs, I say. Yes. Of the sea. And of the houses, he replies. And the lights. And who comes and goes. And me. A pause. Yes. I should be angry. Instead, I flip to the first page with my name. You started before I moved in. I noticed the listing, he says. I hoped it would be you. That's not normal. No, he agrees. But it's honest. I confront him properly that night. You don't get to decide my safety without asking, I say. I know. You don't get to watch my life like it belongs to you. I know. Then why did you? He meets my gaze without flinching. Because no one watched mine when it mattered, he says. And because once I started, stopping felt like choosing loss again. The anger drains out of me, replaced by something heavier. You could lose me anyway, I whisper. Yes, he says. But not because I wasn't paying attention. That night, he finally lies down beside me. Not touching at first. Just present. The ocean roars outside, relentless and alive. I don't sleep because when I do, he says quietly, things slip away. I turn toward him. Then sleep, I say. I'll stay awake. He hesitates. Then trust.